Years ago, there was a phrase that we used in church planting. We were trying to say, hey, come visit our church, we're different. And the phrase was, we're not your grandparents' church. Well, I grew up in a home that was fortunate to attend church with my sister, my mom and dad, and my grandfather. He was papa to me and my sister. Well, I gotta tell you, there are things that I greatly miss about my grandpa's church. We had a great deal of respect for the generation that was before us. I can remember many times where my grandfather would break into tears during our communion time, remembering the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross. I can remember opening the hymnal and singing our hearts out, even me as a kid, singing my heart out and understanding the words of the songs that we were singing. I can remember people often standing up and publicly repenting of sin and asking their church family to pray for them. And probably most of all, I remember the time that we spent with friends from church in each other's homes, sitting on the front porch singing praise songs or around the dinner table and praying together, investing in each other's lives. As we begin this new series, The Church on Purpose, I'm not at all suggesting that we go back to the days of my grandfather's church and do everything like it was done during that generation. No, I'm suggesting that we go back a lot further than that. I'm suggesting that we go back to the New Testament, to the very beginning of the church, the first generation of Christ followers that began to gather together as the church. We'll read about them in the book of Acts. We'll read letters written to them throughout the rest of the New Testament, and we'll learn what they did and why they did it. I also think that we've got an opportunity to look at a lot of the traditions that we've embraced as the church over many generations. Traditions such as having a dedicated building for worship with a dedicated time for worship, of putting benches or seats or pews into those buildings so that people can sit down and be comfortable during worship. Choirs doing special music, even dressing up for church and wearing our Sunday best. Many of these customs or traditions were borrowed from the culture of that day. I'm not suggesting that those things are bad. I am just suggesting that they're not necessarily the picture of the New Testament church, that many of those traditions came later. I'm not suggesting that we stop doing those kinds of things. I just think that it's important that we recognize the difference between traditions, good or bad, and the picture of the New Testament church and what was most important to her. So let's really embrace the good things that we'll learn from the first generation church. And let's make a recommitment to doing the good things that we have been doing for generations. Let's not just be the church doing good things by accident. Let's be the church on purpose.